I know it sounds like a raw deal for Xi Jinping, but Joe Biden is not doing any better. Let me tell you why. Every foreign visit is judged based on two factors: symbolism and deliverables. Nancy Pelosi's trip was high on symbolism. The whole world was tracking her plane as it landed in Taipei. And that should tell you how symbolic this visit was. But beyond that, what did the US achieve? Has the one China policy changed? No, it hasn't. Have the Chinese relented on their claim to Taiwan? No, they haven't. Has Taiwan's military magically grown stronger? Again, the answer is no. The fact is, this trip delivered nothing concrete. Nancy Pelosi wanted a foreign policy win before retiring from office. She decided Taiwan was the place to do it. Even the White House was not interested at first. You would remember this. In late July, Joe Biden himself was asked about Pelosi's visit. And listen to his reply. This is what the US president then said. The military thinks it is not a good idea right now, but I don't know what's the status of it. Clearly, Joe Biden was not too happy about the trip. The question is, what did he do about it? Reports say he dispatched his national security advisor to meet Nancy Pelosi to brief her about the risks of visiting Taiwan. But by then she had made up her mind, so the White House shifted to Plan B, which was damage control. They tried to draw a distinction between the Speaker and the US government. Listen to one such attempt by Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
The Speaker will make her own decisions about whether or not to visit Taiwan. Congress is an independent, co-equal branch of government. The decision is entirely the Speaker's.
The decision is entirely the Speaker's, he says. That's what Antony Blinken said, the US Secretary of State. And to be fair, there is some truth to the statement. The White House cannot control what the Speaker does. There are two independent constitutional organs. Having said that, two questions still remain. Number one, why should China or any country care about America's domestic political structure? For them, it's all the same. A top US official is visiting Taiwan, and that's all there is to it. And number two, what does this say about Joe Biden, the president? After all, Pelosi is also a Democrat. She belongs to the same political party as Joe Biden. Surely the president had some leverage over her. Could he not have convinced Nancy Pelosi to abandon the trip? As it turned out, he couldn't. Pelosi said this trip was supposed to bolster America's support for Taiwan. Instead, it has done the very opposite. It has revealed a split between the White House and the Congress. The White House is happy with the status quo. It is already dealing with the conflict in Ukraine. There is no appetite, it seems, for another one in the Pacific. The Congress, on the other hand, is looking for trouble. It is trying to provoke China. Imagine being stuck in the middle of this. That's where Taiwan is at the moment, confused and alone. Because Nancy Pelosi's will come and go, but Taiwan must bear the consequences. Their ports have been blockaded by China. Their skies are being buzzed by PLA jets. Their homeland is surrounded by enemy warships. Was one trip worth all this risk? What exactly did the US gain with the stunt? And don't get me wrong, Taiwan needs all the support it can get. But this kind of Hollywood-style provocations do not really work. What Taiwan needs is material and military help. And on that, by the way, the US is faltering. Let me show you a report from April 2022. It reveals a massive backlog in military shipments to Taiwan. How much are we talking about? Weapons worth almost $14 billion. They were purchased back in 2019, but they're yet to be delivered. 3 years. This includes F-16 fighter jets, components for Patriot missiles, weapons that will be key to repelling a Chinese invasion. The problem is they're yet to be handed over to Taiwan. And Joe Biden did the same thing in Ukraine. He kept provoking Russia, he kept promising weapons, but once the war broke out, Ukraine was all alone, on its own. Yes, the weapons are still flowing non-stop, but Ukraine is doing all the fighting. With Taiwan, the United States is repeating the same mistake, it seems. They talk about strategic ambiguity. But the current policy is neither strategic nor ambiguous. It is pure chaos. Do you remember what Biden said in the month of May? He said the US would use force to defend Taiwan. Hours later, the White House had to clarify. They said the US policy was unchanged. Pelosi made a similar gaffe in Taipei. She called Taiwan a country. Listen to this.
One of the purposes of our trip, to show the world the success of the people of Taiwan, their courage to change their own country to become more democratic, their respect for people and the rest, and quite frankly, a model in this region in that respect.
It's probably a gaffe, but will China see it that way? Or will they see it as evidence of America's true intentions? The fact is, this trip had no strategic objective. If the idea was to humiliate China, well, at what expense? At whose expense? The Americans are safe thousands of miles away. Only the Taiwanese face the consequences as of today. If the idea was to show U.S. solidarity, there are better ways to do that, like military cooperation, economic assistance. Taiwan may be a geopolitical chess piece for Washington, D.C., but remember, 23 million lives are at stake. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.